Hey, welcome. Tuesday, December 17th, uh, Attention Training Tuesday. So I will start this session off with a quote from this guy, Frank Zappa, a wonderfully strange, very intelligent, and kind of wacky human being. And he had this to say: "The mind is like a parachute. It doesn't work if it isn't open." And Uh, I'll give a quick personal anecdote here. So I live in Fairfax, which is sort of hippie central in Marin County. And if I didn't have the hairstyle that I have, that Mother Nature gave me, I'd probably, have longer hair, kind of like Frank. And you guys would probably view me more through the lens of, oh, he's kind of a hippie. I sort of say that tongue in cheek because I think I subscribe to a lot of the that philosophy, but I've also, interestingly enough, been running into some of the shadow side of I think the live and let live culture. It's hard when you're in a community, and these days we have a lot of homeless people. And I think the technical term is unhoused, and they live in public property. There's tents, and there's sort of this uh, yeah, this like little tent city that has evolved in one of the parks that I live across the street from. And I've been noticing that there's been this really interesting tension on my part where, of course, I feel for them. I can't imagine what it'd be like to be living in a tent outdoors, this time of year where it's wet and cold. And then this morning, something happened that was challenging. I think one of the people that was living there was having a psychotic break of some sort, and was literally yelling at 6 in the morning about murder and rape and mental health and abuse and this, that, and the other thing. And so, trying to figure out what to do, I went to the police station and I said, "You guys, like, someone really desperately needs help." And the answer I got really triggered me. It was like, "Look, there's nothing we can do. They are in their own, technically in their property, which is their tent. They have declined any kind of support, and therefore there's nothing we can do." And so, meanwhile, there's this pretty intense, pretty traumatizing stuff happening. And I started noticing myself just losing it. I was actually getting into this specific police officer I was speaking with. It became energetically very clear to me. It took me a while to kind of catch up to my own stuff, but I noticed myself just being really irritated and frustrated. At the end of the day, I think just scared, that there was nothing that was going to be done. They were just kind of shrugging their shoulders and saying, "Yeah, there's nothing we can do." And anyway, long story short, at some point I caught myself and I noticed my attention shifting back to remembering that the person I was speaking with is a living, feeling human being. Yes, with a police uniform on, and yes, I had this. We're playing different roles in this community, but I noticed that the way I was interacting with him was really just not productive, and I didn't feel good for him. Didn't feel good for me, and it was this inflection point where I noticed what I was doing and was able to then shift into a place of compassion for him, empathy, and so forth. So again, just a good reminder of wherever our attention goes is what dictates our behavior. I just wanted to, remind ourselves that usually as we're going through, our day to day, the part of our brain that's active is called the default mode network. And it's a kind of passive space where we allow things from the outside to determine where our attention goes. It's usually involving self-referential thoughts, or it's me and the rest of the world. And there's a kind of time travel, ruminating on the past and the future, but we're doing anything but actually being present right here, right now, with what's right in front of us. So the antidote to that, working with this default mode network, is to shift this passive state of being to a more conscious, deliberate, active engagement. We want to shift from just this mind wandering to an actual focused um, uh, again, an intentionality. Here's the one that really got me. Usually the default mode network is very much about, me, my problems, my view of the world. And once you snap out of it, you realize like, oh my gosh, everyone else is having, some experience too. And can I reorient myself to be a little more pro-social, be that empathy or compassion, or, just trying to establish connection. And then certainly, the rumination on the past and the future, the antidote there is just becoming present. So I know I've said a lot here, but just setting the the intention maybe for this practice to really focus on wherever our attention goes, just noticing that mechanism that's usually driving our uh, present moment experience, and see if we can actively participate in shifting out of the default mode network. So let's close our eyes and focus the spotlight of our attention inward, and even noticing there, like what's it like to make the decision to shift the locus of our attention from autopilot to a very deliberate, I'm choosing to focus on the experience that is the inside of my body. So noticing physical sensations in your feet, your pelvis, in your hands, the soft tissue of the belly, and all of the organs in our rib cage. Noticing movement, sensations. You can probably feel breath coming and going. You feel your heartbeat. And notice how bringing this attention inward is very much about just bearing witness. We don't control our heart. We don't control our lungs. We don't control our belly. But we can focus our attention on simply noticing what is happening. And then the real Olympic level move here is to notice that the same holds true for the mind and thinking. We have about as much control over our thoughts as we do over our heartbeat or our digestion, our kidney function, or what the liver's doing. Just focusing our attention on just bearing witness. And where the rubber meets the road here is sort of similar to the type of experience that I shared with you. I want you to imagine yourself either in memory or maybe anticipation of a situation in which you really don't have that much control over who's saying what or what they're doing. Let's see if you can maintain this awareness of where your attention is. Notice what they're saying, what they're doing or not doing. Maintaining some connection to your attitude, what the mind is telling you about the situation. The more we can manage where our attention goes, the more choice we have about what we do next. We're just on autopilot. We're not even aware things are happening. Then there's not much choice. But if we can focus our attention on noticing sensory experiences in the body, thoughts and beliefs in our mind, really get curious, and suddenly we have choices. We empower ourselves to make clear decisions and take action. And our default way of being, that it's all on autopilot. All the sensory inputs are just being processed by the brain, and we default to our usual habitual knee-jerky reactivity. And attention allows us to become aware, focus on what is actually happening in the body, what is happening in the mind. But it takes some deliberateness and some doing, some consciousness to say, I want to see more clearly. Go ahead and take a deep breath in through the nose. Long, slow exhale through the mouth. See if you can stretch this one out as long as you can. So just slow exhale. Noticing your diaphragm and contracting the lungs all the way out. And then hold. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Another deep inhale through the nose. Keeping your full attention on the exhale, slow exhale. Stay with it. Hold. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Go ahead, open your eyes. Going back to the session. So if anything, this is an invitation, as Frank Zappa said, the open-mindedness is very much a function of our ability to deliberately, intentionally focus our attention where we want it to be so that we can actually deal with reality rather than being in this autopilot mode that the brain is pretty used to. So hope that was helpful and not too far out there. Hope to see you tomorrow. I'll stick around for a few more if anyone wants to chat.